What up, everybody? It's your girl July from Kickback Couture. Today, I'm gonna show you how to make your drums nasty as possible, right? So this is what we're starting with at the beginning. And then this is what I'm gonna show you how to do. Just a little bit nastier and fits the beat that I want a bit better. All right, so let's get straight into it with the regular preset. All right, cool, boom. So we're using Kong here, but obviously you can use whatever sampler you decide to. You can use Kong and break them into separate mixing tracks and do it that way, whatever you want to. But for this kick drum, today I will be operating in Kong, but if you would like to use a different sampler, you're more than welcome to use a different sampler. You can accomplish a lot of these things with whatever sampler you decide to use. The reason I'm using Kong is because everything is in one place and it's easy to demonstrate this way. All right, there's the kick drum that we're starting with. Right, now, in order to make this harder, obviously one thing we could do is turn it up, but that's not exactly the answer. Now, I'm going to show you a few different techniques in order to get this to be harder, more interesting. Now, the first thing you could do is layer it. So we got a kick drum here. We can layer it with other drums. So in order to do that, gonna go through the browser and find some other drums you like. So you can go to Drum Supply and you can find another kick drum to layer it with. You can find some kind of percussion to layer it with. Whatever you decide is up to you. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into bass drums. And here's a drum here, right? I want to layer this with this one. Now I'm going to hit the folder icon and I'm going to select my sample. All right, cool. So now they're both in the same place, right? Now, obviously, that's harder than it was by itself. But in order to make sure we keep this clean, what we can do is edit the individual samples. So I like the beginning of this sample. I like how it hit. But I just want the boom of this sample. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on the 808 sample and hit the edit button. And this is going to open up the edit window in Reason so that I can get rid of that initial attack. Now what I'm going to do is drag on that initial attack and I'm just going to fade it in, right? So that the attack of the first drum isn't competing with this one, creating mud. Because if you have too many things hitting at once with hard transients, it can cause mud and basically dilute the power of the sample. So we're going to try this and let's hear it now. So now we got some bass to the sample and let's hear it. Tight, right? Now let's continue to build on this. Outside of layering, of course, you can add more layers. You can just keep clicking add layer, and you'll have more layers. And maybe you want to add a hi-hat. That might be cool. So let's click on the folder icon again, and it's called attack. Oh, I'm still in bass drums. Hi-hats, it was called attack. Let's add this one, load. All right. Now I don't want the entire duration of the sample. So once again, I'm gonna click on the edit window and then we can truncate this and we can audition it here to preview what it sounds like. Now maybe I want a little bit more. Let's try that. Yeah, and again, let's fade in this beginning here. All right, and let's try that with it. Just changing bullet. And then you could change the individual level, the volumes of each layer here. Bring it up a bit. Cool. So I like that. Now, again, you can add another layer. You can add more layers. I'm gonna remove that because I'm done adding layers. But what's also cool about the effects in Kong is these little modules here. So we have blank plate 1, blank plate 2. I'm gonna start with blank plate 1. And I'm going to add something called Rattler. And Rattler is going to do something crazy like that. That doesn't necessarily sound good just yet, but you can hear the nastiness incoming as you listen. right? So what we're gonna do is turn down the level here, and the decay is gonna be how long that rattle lasts. Now this is usually used for snares, but I'm using it on a kick because it sounds nasty. We could change the tone here. It's kind of like a filter there, and we got tune. Snare tension. This will make it tighter. We could turn that level up to hear it. Now, if you're at home watching this, you're probably like, what the heck is going on? This is crazy. Because that's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm just keeping my composure for you. Turn the level down. All right, cool. That's the rattler. Now, the next thing I want to show you is overdrive resonator. And keep in mind, you can play with these effects. I'm going to show you a couple different ones. We got overdrive and the resonator. Now that is ridiculous. It's so hard that it lost the nastiness. Still sounds nasty, but it lost the transient. So we'll turn the drive down. You can add drive to taste, and you can play with the different resonators. I encourage you to experiment with this with snares. As for the kick, you know, it's up to you. Now, this one is going to be probably one of the most important tools for your tool bag. This is called a transient shaper. If you don't know what this is called, if you don't know what this does, a transient shaper can control the attack and decay of a sample. So basically how the sample is shaped. So the beginning of the sample is the attack. It's that knock you hear, that click, right? And the end of the sample is going to control the decay. So if I pull the decay all the way back, for example, see how I made it shorter? That's basically what it is. Attack pulls from the front and the decay pulls from the back of the sample. Now I like it ringing out. That's why I added the 808 there. But maybe I make it just a little bit shorter. And as far as the attack, if you want it all the way up here, it's going to sound a bit weird, depending on the sample, but you can add it to taste. It's already pretty hard, so we can keep it like that, right? Now, as far as other effects you might want to experiment with, I would recommend sticking to the rattler, overdrive resonator, transient shaper, and you could play with noise and tone for drums. You could also play with the EQ. Honestly, go through all of them. Have fun, see what you come up with, even the compressor. All right, noise. Now that's obviously a bit too much, right? We don't want that, you know, overpowering our drum. So we're gonna turn down the level. Here's a resonance. Play with the knobs till you get something you like. Pull down that K because it's really long. Without it. With it. Very subtle. It's like adding to the beginning of it. The click that you hear. Turn the click down. Let's turn the rattler off for a sec. That's what the noise is doing, right? Now let's go ahead and play this. Solo that kick drum. All right, so that's noise, something cool you could do with noise. Now, I would encourage you to check out all of these and see what each one of them does on your own time, but that is the basics of messing around with the kick drum, right? All right, cool. So now I'm going to leave my kick, and let's go ahead and switch over to the snare, and I'll show you how you can affect the snare, right? So this is the snare we got. Let's go ahead and play. Gonna follow a similar workflow with this snare. I want to add a layer. It's just a snare right now, but we could layer it with a clap or something to that nature. So let's go to add layer, click on this folder icon to activate the browser, and then Reason Drum Supply up here, and let's go in the claps folder. Maybe we could try this one. Let's see. I like how that sounds. Without it. With it. Add some kind of power to it. Let's try to find one more clap with a longer decay. Something that rings out. This could work. So let's add this one. It's called graded. Gonna click add layer and load. And with this third sample, it all sounds like this. Now, I don't want all those playing like that because it takes away from the identity that was there before rather than adds to it. It creates it, turns it into something completely different, if that makes sense. So we're going to edit this third sample to start, and I want to get rid of this attack. We're just going to fade it in here so that it's just kind of the tail. And I'm going to undo, click this undo button and make that a bit longer. Fade in. All right, and let's try that. And we're going to bring down the level of this third sample. And then as for this third one, let's bring this down a bit more. And I'm actually going to edit this third sample again. And I want to shorten the amount of the sample that we're using. Let's crop it and then fade out the end. We always want to fade out the end if we crop it because we don't want it to make a click sound. Save. All right. And then as for this one, we got to decide which one we want, which attack do we like better. So let's edit this sample. This is the first one. That's what that one sounds like. And the second one sounds like this. Move that up. Now this sounds cool too, but I would prefer first one. So I'm gonna go ahead and fade that beginning in. This is our new drum. Now we can go along that same workflow that we went with the kick and try using rattler, overdrive, noise, whatever you want to try. So let's try rattler. Just gonna make these drums bigger. And let's go ahead and add ring modulator. Let's try that on this one. Now, this could be really cool for some percussion sounds. I like that sound we got there. Let's turn off rattler for a sec. I'm gonna pull down the amount. You can mix how much of the effect you have in there. And let's hear those drums together. And for the kick, that like electricity sound is a bit too much, so I'm gonna turn it down. And let's pull up the snare tension a bit so it doesn't last as long. There we go. As for this hi-hat, all I did was with the hi-hat from the example in the beginning was pull down the pitch because it fit the beat a lot better. And I'll let you hear it with the bass, but I won't play all of the melodies and stuff because this is probably going to be on my album. Just wanted to show you what's possible in Kong. Now, if you're using a different sampler, you can still access these effects by using Kong as an effect. I have a super old video that goes over all of the stuff that you need to do to use Kong as an effect, and I have another old video that goes over how to break each individual drum into their own channels. Check out either one of those videos. I'll be back tomorrow. It's all culture, kickback, and cook up.